All right, Brent Hubbs, it was business as usual for Tennessee in the mid-states. We can get into the crooks and cranny of it all as the hour goes on, but at the end of the day, Tennessee was expected to win big. Tennessee won big, 1-0 to start the season.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was a nice start. I mentioned this in the 10 things I think on Friday heading into the game that I thought it was good for Tennessee's offensive front to get a little bit of a challenge from a Power Five team and some Power Five athletes on Virginia's defensive front. That's not a great Virginia team by any means on either side of the ball, but I think it was good for the offensive line to get to go against some quality guys, and not just play a de facto scrimmage game, if you will. They had a little bit of adversity in the first half offensively to fight through, which I think is a positive for them as well. And I think the story everybody's talking about today, aside from Joe Milton, who's going to be a story every week that he's Tennessee's quarterback, Eric, is where Tennessee's defense was and what they looked like on Saturday. That was a fast defense that played pretty doggone violent. Pretty angry, if you will. I thought they tackled really well. So I mean, I think that I think defensively they got a lot of good things done. So was pretty impressed with the defense. I know that Tim Banks was super excited, Eric, going in. I know you interviewed him for the Vol Network, and I bumped into him, had a couple casual conversations with him in the last 2 weeks. He was really excited to see where this defense was, and there's plenty to work on, but I think that it has to be excited about where they are coming out of week one with the win over Virginia.
Yeah, I think so too. It's no football game is ever going to be perfect. Alabama, Georgia, the last two national champions, they don't ever play a perfect game, but week one's definitely not perfect, and you can win 49-13 and still have a lot of areas where you can improve on them. We'll discuss that as the show goes on, of course, as the week goes on. But CJ Shaw 114 sends us a super chat. Want to thank you for that. Appreciate that. But he's got a question for us. Love the content. We all know yesterday was not perfect. Where do you want to see some improvements? It's a good conversation to have. I think defensively they'll get tested more as the season goes on, no doubt. That was a bright spot. I'd like to see some more players play at the safety position, Brent. But, offensively, there was a lull there in the first half. We'll get into it more here in a little bit. But there was a lull, and there were some miscommunications at times and some sloppy play. I think more consistency and not that long of a dry spell offensively where you go turnover on downs, 3 straight punts, and then you get back into scoring offense. I want to see that dry spell go away moving forward for Tennessee's offense.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I'm going to be really curious to see what Josh Heupel has to say on Monday in his review of the game. Joe Milton said he really liked where his eyes were. He felt like his eyes were really good. I'm curious to see if Josh Heupel feels that way after watching the film. Did they leave a lot out there? Did they miss some obvious things? Kind of where was it? He's not going to, even if Joe missed quite a bit of stuff, I don't think he's going to throw his quarterback under the bus. But I'm kind of curious to see what they felt like they may have left out there, what Joe might have missed. I think you had the receivers have some blunders too. I think they've got to clean up some things based on Josh Heupel's comments, right? I mean, just talking about kind of they were a little bit out of sync. I think they missed some things in terms of there's so much route adjustment in this offense that they have to do. I think they missed a couple of things there as well. Somebody posted this on the board earlier today. I thought it was a great stat. It's something to keep an eye on. It's Tennessee's third down struggles. You go back to the end of last year when Joe Milton became the engineer of this offense. They were 0 for on third down against Vanderbilt. Now they turned 2 of those third downs into first downs on fourth down conversions, but they didn't convert many offensive third downs at Vanderbilt. I think they were 3 of 13 against Clemson, 5 of 18 or something like that yesterday. Got to get a little better on third down. I know they still scored a bunch of points, but they can be better on third down. And then they got to kick the ball better. You can't kick 2 kickoffs out of bounds, and you can't shank 2 punts. I think the punter's going to be okay. I think Jackson Ross will be okay. I get that was his first time in a college game, but I mean, you're going to play in a night game in Gainesville, Florida in 2 weeks where it's going to get loud. So he's got to get settled in quickly. And I think he will, but that's something that you want to see him really pick up his performance this week and have much more confidence heading into his first true road trip in a hostile environment.
We see a Stingray, Herb, Rich, Cricket. We see your questions. We'll answer those as the show goes on. Megan was putting up some video and some pictures up there a moment ago, and I want to start with the bang here. Tennessee's run game was really, really good yesterday. Tapping out at 287 yards, averaging over 5 yards per carry. He had a running back reach the century mark, and that's Jalen Wright. 115 yards rushing, 9.6 yards per carry. He was phenomenal. The story is Dylan Sampson, of course. He had 4 total touchdowns. That first play, you wrote about it. I've talked about it. Joe's, it's 4th and 5 from the 9. You're going for it, setting the tone for the season. Love the call. Don't like the 4th and 1 on your own 29, but I love this one, right? Maybe a little hypocritical. But Joe sits back there and he looks to his third read, and that's Dylan Sampson out there in the flat. Those at him, that's a touchdown. But the story, Sampson was 4 total touchdowns, but he ran hard. Jabari Small ran hard. Jalen Wright ran hard. This Tennessee rushing attack was really good yesterday. Really good with a rotation of the offensive line. Allowed Tennessee to take a big lead, and of course allowed Tennessee to operate its offense. One of the more underrated parts of Josh Heupel's offense is the run game, and it was really impressive against Virginia.
Yeah, and listen, and I wrote about this afternoon, and I think this is a credit to Josh Heupel and a credit to the Tennessee coaching staff from the standpoint of just being patient and taking what's given to them out there, Eric. I mean, Virginia came out that first drive. Their 2 safeties are back deep. They're in cover 2. They've got 6 men in the box, and Tennessee said, okay, if you're going to play 6 men in the box, then we're going to line up and just come right at you in the run game. And they did. I thought it was fascinating when you look at Grant's snap count, the balance that they had, 28 snaps for Wright, 27 for Sampson, 26 for Jabari Small. So much for riding the hot hand in that game. You balanced it out there. But to me, and this is not a takeaway from Small, this is not a takeaway from Dylan Sampson's 4 touchdowns. Jalen Wright's in a different place right now, in my opinion, as a running back. He's running more physical. His balance is better. The thing I noticed from Jalen Wright that really showed up more in the rewatch than it even did live, and I thought it showed up live, he was much more patient as a back yesterday, setting guys up. He didn't run himself into trouble. There were a couple of times he kind of hesitated to hit the backside. His vision and his patience, he seemed like he had a much better rhythm with his offensive line than we've seen. And he was even the leading rusher on this team a year ago. So we'll see. They're going to face much greater challenges moving forward, much greater test. But obviously a great start to the run game. And Jalen Wright backed up everything we've heard about him all summer long and all preseason long, because I thought he was by far the best back on the field for Tennessee yesterday and the best back in the game.
Yeah, I would agree. He was running at a different level. He's improved so much running between the tackles, throughout his collegiate career. And you're right, he was patient. I noticed that big time on the rewatch. He was taking what was in front of him. He would wait, let the hole open up. He would cut back. His vision was good. He was really good yesterday. And what I like about Tennessee is, too, and, the broadcast, when I went back and watched it on this afternoon, it was, hey, we talked to Tennessee's coaching staff. It's going to be a 40-40-20 split. 40% goes to Wright, Small, 20% goes to Sampson, but they'll ride the hot hand. And you saw it a couple times yesterday where they would run, no pun intended, Wright all the way down the field. And then he'd get tired. It's a 12-play drive, tap out, come out, Small comes in, or Sampson comes in, scores a touchdown. It happened to Small one time. They ran him, they threw it to him, and they were very active in the pass game, and they go all the way down the field. He'd get tired. A fresh back comes in with fresh legs. What a luxury it is for Tennessee to have 3 backs you can count on and utilize in games like yesterday.
Well, and what maturity from those backs to tap out, right?
Yeah.
At the 9-yard line, and you're getting ready to score. You put in all the work, and you're going to go, hey, get somebody else in here to finish this thing off. Not a ton of backs are going to be doing that. And I don't know that the coaching staff wants that all the time, because it slows down the tempo sometimes when you make that sub.
Yeah, one time it allowed a fresh defensive line to come in for Virginia. Probably not what Tennessee wanted.
No, and that'll probably come up in the film study for sure, but shows a lot of the lack of selfishness in that room. Jerry Max talked about the culture he has in his running back room and the cohesiveness and the brotherhood he has with that group. That says a lot about the maturity of those guys, which says, you know what, I need a fresh guy in here to finish this drive off. I'm impressed with those guys, and they had great balance with the snap counts yesterday. And it was hot, and I think the heat got to everybody a little bit, got to Tennessee a little bit. They plowed through it and pushed through it, and they'll be better for it in 2 weeks when they play in the humidity in Gainesville, Florida. So it was good for them to get a hot day. It was good for them to play a Power 5 opponent. I don't think there was anything negative about playing that game yesterday in the situation that they were playing in.